This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's February 5th, 2026, and on this day in 1957, a devastating construction accident in Nashville killed 4 people, changed plans for the establishment of a new broadcasting studio, and altered the zoning and the character of a West Nashville neighborhood. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. Today, WSMV operates from a wooded campus tucked into a sprawling residential zone just a little bit west of White Bridge Road. Its red and white tower is a distinctive tall spike that you can see while you drive down Charlotte or I-40. But that's not where it was supposed to be. Back in 1957, the intention was to broadcast from a site several miles closer to downtown, on top of the hill that gives the Sylvan Heights neighborhood its name. Now, the station was already up and running at that point. It was the first in Nashville, debuting on the air in 1950 from facilities not too far from Belmont University. But after nearly a decade of getting things up and running, figuring out what was really needed and what the station could be, the folks in charge of WSMV decided it was time to invest in a brand new, purpose-built television station with a substantial tower. The Sylvan Heights location makes a lot of sense. The goal with any broadcast tower is to get the top of the structure to a certain elevation. So starting on high ground means less actual tower that you need to build. And that hilltop property is one of the higher points in Nashville. It's hard to explain in a podcast just which spot you would need to look at to know that you're seeing that hill. But the relatively nondescript buildings that are there now are also easily visible from a good distance just because of how high the hill is. WSMV hired General Electric to build the tower. According to news reports from the time, it was almost complete when something went horribly wrong. People who were there said it started with a popping sound. The thick guy wires, as big around as a man's arm, came loose and lashed wildly. The tower collapsed on itself like an accordion and then crashed down. 4 people working on the tower at the time died in that fall. The structure crushed cars and trees as it landed. Somehow, amazingly, it didn't do serious damage to any nearby homes. But as you might imagine, it terrified everyone. Within days, WSMV officials announced they would find a different site for their station. The city councilman who represented the area quickly filed for a zoning change that wouldn't allow another tower on that particular hill. A few years ago, the Nashville Retrospect Facebook page posted photos of the wrecked tower. Several people responded with memories of the event. One said they recalled that WSMV had also already built a building on the site, or at least completed the exterior of it. And for years afterwards, they said it remained, and that kids used to sneak into the abandoned building to mess around. They said it felt like a strange place, even as a child. Now, you'd never know it was there. An apartment complex was built on the site in 1980. A few years ago, there was talk of redevelopment into newer, nicer apartments and a small park. It's funny how a major event like that tower collapse can have impacts on a neighborhood that are felt directly for decades and then be largely forgotten or invisible, yet still leave their mark. I know that neighborhood well, and I think it's safe to say that most of the people who live around that hill have no idea of the TV tower and its collapse. But the way that a prime tower location has been reserved for residential use ever since is a direct and lasting impact of the deadly disaster. Well, we'll keep seeing the effects of this ice storm in Nashville's tree canopy for quite a while. In a few minutes, a conversation with a tree expert. That's coming up after the newscast.
Thematic Static on WNXP is the mixtape we make together. A themed set loosely organized by you, the listener, handpicking songs according to a theme. Airing first Thursdays at 9 a.m. and again Saturdays at 9 a.m., Thematic Static plucks your requests from the socials at WNXP Nashville and by voice memo at 615-320-9100. Thematic Static, the mixtape we make together, supported by United Record Pressing, only on WNXP.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. The number of storm-related deaths confirmed by the Tennessee Department of Health has now risen to 29. At the time of this recording, the Nashville Electric Service outage map now shows just over 4,500 homes and businesses without electricity. Statewide, about 7,000 outages remain. There are 45 warming and overnight shelters that remain open across the state. This morning, Metro Water is responding to 15 confirmed or suspected water main breaks, and the number of water utilities across the state reporting problems is up to 32, with 14 communities under boil water advisories. We are on to the next stage of the winter ice storm, and that is cleanup. It's going to be a team effort. Metro is working with volunteers at Hands on Nashville to get the brush to the curb and then hauled away. Reporter Justin Barney has more.
Standing in front of a tree branch hanging down on a walkway in a public park in North Nashville, Mayor Freddie O'Connell says that the city is looking for people with a certain set of skills.
If you can operate a chainsaw, we could use your help.
There's a lot of wreckage that needs to get to a curb. Nashville's transportation department currently has 1,200 requests and growing for debris removal. They would get to all these, but it would go quicker with some help, says Lori Shinton, the head of Hands on Nashville.
Volunteers are essential. The more volunteers we have now, the faster we can assess that damage, schedule debris removal, get help to the right places.
If you can help, the place to go is HON.org.
Anyone who can give a few hours can make a meaningful difference.
Volunteers will go door to door helping get debris to the curb. Once it is there, NDOT is working with FEMA to get it chipped and mulched. It's a big effort, one that NDOT Deputy Director Philip Jones acknowledged.
And I'm going to be honest, I've been doing this. I've been here with the city for 32 years. This is probably one of the most or the biggest county-wide impact we've had in this county that I'm aware with. So it's going to take a little time, but we have a good plan put together. You set it to the curb, NDOT will get it.
Justin Barney, WPLN.
Again, the website to volunteer is HON.org. Government officials can't stop landlords from evicting tenants who can't pay the rent because of the ice storm. That's because of a state law called the Uniform Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. But whether it's from paying to stay in a hotel to stay warm or missing days of work, many people are feeling serious financial strain from the storm. Local leaders are pulling together resources to help people at risk of losing their homes. The Tennessean Report's Mayor Freddie O'Connell is reminding people that legal assistance is available through the Eviction Right to Counsel program. Separately, the Legal Aid Society is offering help to people at risk of mortgage foreclosure due to the storm. Nashville's Metro Council held its annual pre-budget public hearing this week. That's an opportunity for residents to share their desires for the budget before the mayor crafts his proposal for the upcoming fiscal year. This time, the overwhelming request had to do with affordability, and more specifically, affordable housing.
All of you know that Nashville averages 1,000 evictions a month. And with a housing market that grows more expensive, rent that keeps going up, most folks move into different towns just to survive.
I've already had to move once because I couldn't afford to stay in my first apartment.
A fully funded eviction right to counsel program will help Nashvillians stay in their homes and combat predatory landlords.
I am urging you, please, to come together as a body and do whatever you need to do to push for that $30 million for the Barnes Fund.
That was Kelvin Williams, Andrea Pemberton, Shani Glapian, and Jackie Sims. The Barnes Housing Trust Fund supports additions to Nashville's affordable housing stock. The Eviction Right to Counsel program provides legal representation to renters. Other requests included bus fare freezes during emergencies and cost of living adjustments for Metro employees. The mayor will put out his budget sometime this spring. Afterwards, the council will hold another public budget hearing, which could influence revisions they make to his budget in a substitute proposal. It looks like health care might be one of the political hot-button issues in this year's state legislative session. Governor Billy had a strong focus on health policy in his State of the State address earlier this week. And Wednesday, he and other Republicans trumpeted their alliance to the Make America Healthy Again movement. They held an event at the State House for its founder, U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as lawmakers took up the first votes of this session. WPLN's Catherine Sweeney attended and also talked with concerned doctors and health advocates outside who were protesting Kennedy's appearance.
Kennedy has been one of the most polarizing U.S. Health and Human Services secretaries in history and has constantly been at odds with the medical community, most recently after gutting the country's vaccine policy process. But he's not controversial among Tennessee's Republican leadership. Governor Lee and several top lawmakers heralded his MAHA goals, especially when it comes to kids, cutting back on junk food and screen time, and trying to curtail autism rates. In the small room at the Capitol, filled with carefully invited guests, people were excited.
Eat real food. Eat protein.
Outside the briefing room, the reception was more chilly. Some doctors and advocates for vaccine access were holding signs to protest Kennedy's appearance. That included emergency room doctor Katrina Green.
I saw during the COVID pandemic that our state legislators are very susceptible to misinformation. And that is something that comes out of RFK Jr.'s mouth all too frequently. I mean, just today on one of the committees, there's a bill that would take fluoride out of our water.
Catherine Sweeney, WPLN News.
The Rutherford County Library System is still considering a ban on nearly 3,000 children's books, but the vote has been postponed 1 month. The Daily News Journal reports a majority of the library's governing board voted this week to take more time to examine the titles, which have already been pulled from the shelves. That decision was made before a packed crowd, including free speech advocates holding signs and wearing purple T-shirts that said, "Stop banning books." The books were removed for review to comply with an executive order from President Donald Trump, after state officials suggested libraries could lose federal funding if they don't remove children's books that deal with so-called gender ideology. Library Director Luann James said her staff has completed their own review of the books. Their recommendation is that all of the materials stay in the library, although they are suggesting some items be reclassified and moved to either the young adult or adult sections.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org.
Nashville has many neighborhoods known for leafy and wooded streets, and those trees became a huge liability when ice started gathering on their branches. An untold number of trees have come down. Many more are mangled beyond recognition. But tree professional Gene Teal says there's no need to make any snap decisions. He joined This Is Nashville's Blake Farmer on a heavily damaged street in Forest Hills.
Look at all these properties we've spent like the last decade or 2 decades making into these estately, like perfect park-like settings, and then it's gone. It's like all that effort, and you're standing there just staring at these trees where we swung around up there from ropes to make them look just right, and now that tree is laying on the ground, and you can't just have it back. It took 40, 50, 60 years for that big, beautiful oak or whatever to grow there, and it's gone.
So I've heard some people expressing concerns that out of this, you're going to have a bunch of people wanting to cut down any tree that seems like a risk at all. Are you worried people are going to be taking out trees left and right?
Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that because we actually love, I mean, we've got properties we've been on for decades trying to make them look beautiful and perfect, and now everything's gone, but it doesn't mean that it's gone. You know, a good climber can get up there and make some really nice prunes and kind of predict what that tree should look like and get some shape back on it. Now, wherever you make big cuts in the top of a canopy, it's going to promote like a lot of sucker growth, a lot of new limbs trying to grow off that one nub, trying to be the new lead. So there might be some follow-up pruning that has to happen to kind of control how that tree tops out later in life. Otherwise, it'll decay down that stump and all those limbs will peel off anyway. So some trees, if they have a lot of mass damage up top and there's no real structure left to be the new lead or canopy, yeah, they probably need to go because the response they're going to have is just going to be a lot of sucker wood.
But are you thinking people are going to make a bunch of quick decisions, say, yeah, get rid of it, get rid of it?
What would be really nice is if, if you just keep an even keel, an open mind, that once the snow melts and the weight comes off the trees, they spring back up to where they need to be. It'd be way better just to overhaul what you've got going on, everything that's hanging or damaged or clearly broken, and then stand back. Just give it a month, and then stand back and take a look and make an assessment when your mind isn't in some kind of sort of distress.
What trees made you saddest so far? Have you seen one that just broke your heart?
Yeah, well, I can't stand. We've got a lot of historic magnolia and stuff, and they can't take any weight. Also, their leaf structure's still on, so they're holding way more weight than the rest of them, and it's snappy wood, so they just failed. And you know, like a magnolia is it's more of like a romantic tree. It sits low. Quite often they brush the ground. All that's just broke off of them, and you can't have that back.
Oh, in other words, it's like it'll never shape itself back up.
No, that's kind of a misconception. There's a lot of trees that really don't fill back in. People always want to believe that they will. They don't fill back in, especially the evergreens. It is what it is. They'll look disfigured for forever, for the rest of their life. But the silver lining is a fresh start is awesome. I mean, you remove some of these old growth bush trees that you're maybe disappointed in anyway, and you go down to your nursery and you buy something that's awesome and plant it. Watch something new grow. Just be wary of which species you choose. Maybe not a Bradford pear.
No Bradford pears, no Chinese elms. And
we
cut
don't really
down
need
the box
any more
elm.
sycamore. Yeah, we get rid of that one too.
Gene Teal of GT Tree. Stay warm.
That interview with Blake Farmer is from this week's episode about tree cleanup, which includes tips on making insurance claims. You can listen to the whole thing in the This Is Nashville podcast feed. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nashvillager newsletter, too. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/Nashvillager. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.